Hi everybody, I'm Jack Jinseki, and joining me today is Bunko Bun.
Hello, my name is Bunko. It's nice to meet everyone.
Bunko, what kind of content do you like to make?
So I don't stream. I know a VTuber that doesn't stream.
Hmm.
uh, Not to say that they're not spectacular streamers, of course. So I make YouTube content. I mainly focus on manga because I'm a big manga fan. I'm pretty much reading manga when I'm not playing video games or watching YouTube content or streams.
Hmm.
Um, Uh, I do some IRL stuff in the sense that I've made a manga collection video explaining all the uh, interesting and degenerate and actually good manga on my shelves. And I do plan to do a little video in the future about my recent trip to Japan.
Oh wow. How big is your manga collection?
It varies. At the moment, I have like a small, I would say small bookshelf. It's sort of like an indent into my wall that I've made into a bookshelf.
Hmm.
Um, I'd say I have to have at least over 100 volumes of different manga.
Do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite? Oh no, that's like picking a favorite child. I think one of my most recent favorite ones, mainly because I was trying to look for it a lot while I was out in Japan, and it only has a Japanese release.
Hmm.
Was Black Sesame Salt and Custard Pudding. I've only read it recently, but I think the thrill of it not being in English and I had to hunt it down while I was on my trip sort of gave it that extra special place in my heart.
So you can read in Japanese?
uh, I I would like to say yes, uh, but unfortunately, I can only read hiragana and katakana, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, I can't read kanji.
Yeah.
But one day I will. I'd like to try and do that in the future.
Yeah, I did Duolingo for I did the 5 minutes a day thing for like 1,600 days,
Oh
and
wow!
I learned that you cannot learn Japanese that way. It's total nonsense. It doesn't work. Uh, so what made you want to be a VTuber?
That's a great question. I think the reason why I wanted to become a VTuber was I know I wanted to make content online and I wanted there to be sort of a personal touch rather than it just being pictures and videos of anime and manga. Um, and I was trying to figure out a way to show myself or portray an image of myself in these videos. But then I realized that I have insecurities about my IRL appearance. And even if I did record myself every day, I would have to put on a lot of makeup. And I'm very lazy, so I didn't want to do that. And then I saw the beauty of VTubers such as Iron Mouse and Hime Hajime. And I was like, oh, if they can be themselves and uh, look gorgeous while doing just their everyday things, then I was like, oh, maybe I could do a similar thing. And then I realized that uh, a 3D model of a VTuber is quite cost efficient. So I was like, oh, I'll give this a go. Maybe you can even try out some fashion choices that IRL me would never do. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got here today.
So the 3D model is actually more cost efficient than the 2D model.
So, from what I've been told about VTubers who do 2D stuff, I've heard that they've had to like purchase quite a lot in regards of like emotes and then different fashion. But I discovered this free 3D free 3D program to make a VTuber model called Vroid.
Oh yeah.
And then once I found that, I was like, oh, I can pretty much do it for free.
Okay.
And then I found a website called Booth that has like hundreds of free assets to download to put on your characters. There's also purchasable ones, so it's kind of like an Etsy but for VTubers. And I was just immediately hooked after that.
Wow. And the model looks great, I gotta say.
Oh, thank you. It's also my attempt at having green hair because I've tried that once before and it didn't work out very well.
So what was the process for creating your character?
Well, at first, funnily enough, it started when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends.
Hmm.
Um, I wanted to like find a way to personify my character, and I was well. I it was the same time that I found this 3D modeling software.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, maybe I could like try and test out making my Dungeons and Dragons character into an anime girl. And I did try that, and I also tried making my IRL form. And I was like, oh, okay, I could sort of be quite expressive. And the more I did some research into other 3D VTubers, I realized that there's a lot more variety in fashion than just fantasy and the IRL stuff I put my version of myself into.
Hmm.
Um, and then yeah, I just sort of went from there, and I was like, oh, I did love the blue hair phase, like blue and green hair phase I went through in real life.
Hmm.
And I was like, I want to have that but permanent. And then yeah, I just went from there. I thought, oh, cyberpunk style was pretty cool, but I if I walked around in this sort of outfit in real life, I'd probably get double looks to be like, what are you wearing? But here I can be comfortable in whatever I want to wear, and I can have whatever eye color I want, whatever hair color I want, and just be me.
Man, the '80s must have been an awesome time. You could walk outside and wear pretty much anything, and people would be like, "Yeah, it's the '80s. Can't do that today."
Yes. No, no, especially in the UK. I feel like if you wear anything out of the ordinary, you get instantly judged. If it's
So,
not beige, people aren't interested.
so do you have any lore for your character?
I realized that I probably should have made up some lore when I first made my VTuber model, but I unfortunately I don't have any lore except for just being a degenerate manga reading weeb. So I don't know if that counts as lore, but I'd like to consider it as lore.
Well, you're in good company. I mean, almost all the VTubers are degenerate weebs, so I am no exception. I too am a degenerate weeb. Uh,
Yeah, I recently came into an anime that I feel like definitely teetered me over, teetered, uh, pushed me over the edge of getting a badge for degeneracy, and I wear it loud and proud.
so, what's been your favorite accomplishment of your channel so far?
Ooh, hmm. I think just hitting 300 subscribers was a big goal for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that that many people wanted to sit down and listen to my weird taste in manga and um, see my physical manga collection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that made me really happy because I was like, oh, wow, people actually are interested in what I have to say and like the VTuber model. And yeah, I guess I was worried at first that no one was going to watch and it was just going to be like this little almost manga diary that I put online. But as I saw it hit triple, just like hit my once I saw my subscriber count hit triple digits, I was just over the moon and I was ecstatic. Um, yeah, it still amazes me that I have like a little over 300 subscribers now, and I don't know. I feel like I want to like shake everyone's hand who has subscribed to me and be like, "Thank you so much! Oh my goodness."
So, what's been the biggest change to your channel since you started VTubing?
Hmm. Since I started VTubing, well, at first when I first started my channel, I didn't have my VTuber model a part of it, and I think adding the VTuber model sort of unlocked something in my videos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I felt like because I could somewhat show myself, but also have that face of an anonymity, it kind of dialed up the weird tastes and my degeneracy just a lot more because I felt that I could express myself and really like shake my head around when I'm describing the wonderful girls and gushing over magical girls. I could be like, "Oh, look, it's amazing." Whereas before, I felt like I couldn't really portray that in just a voice. It would be like portraying sarcasm over text. It wasn't quite there. Whereas this way, I could really like well, I would say flail my arms around, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But flailing my hair around is the second best.
I think that they have like a special sensor that you can put like on your desk underneath your hands, and it detects your
Oh.
hand motion.
Oh, I have also seen controllers. I think Steam do like on their VR controller, you can hook it up so then you can move your arms around.
Hmm.
And there are VTuber specific ones on Amazon, but I haven't purchased those yet. But once I do, I don't think the world is ready to see my hands.
uh, so, what would you hope to accomplish through your channel?
Hmm. I think what my goal is with my channel is to just share manga that other people may not necessarily know about,
Hmm.
and then also build like the small little community of people who also enjoy the sort of manga that I enjoy, and then it's just like a small group of people or just a group of people who just enjoy talking about the manga that I read,
Hmm.
because I'm trying to I'm trying to set up a series of reading one shots in manga, because I feel like with one shots, it's very easy to just not see them, especially with large mangakas as well, who have really popular series. Most people don't know that they often have one shots as well. So I think I'm also using this channel as a way to shine spotlights on these one shots, whether they are good or whether they are bad. Sometimes they are mainly bad, but sometimes they're really good.
Who is a VTuber you'd love to talk to, and do you have anything you'd want to ask them?
Oh, that is a great question. I've been very grateful for being welcomed into so many VTuber communities. Um, but I think my main inspiration for being a VTuber would be Iron Mouse,
Hmm.
because I have watched Trash Taste for a very long time, which is a very popular anime podcast. And Iron Mouse is a very close friend with one of the podcasties, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and ever since I started watching her content, she's just been like a big chaotic idol of mine.
Hmm.
And I feel like she brings such a level of chaos that I'd love to try and, or at least hope to, uh, bring into my videos. And in regards to what I would ask her, I don't know. There's so many possible things I could ask her, and I don't know. I think the first thing I would say would be thank you for just being a pretty awesome person. Um, Oh, what would I ask? I guess what I would ask her would be, "What is your favorite manga?" Because I'd be interested to know if she does read manga, and if so, how far down the itchy hole has she fallen into?
Nice. Whom would you most like to collaborate with?
Ooh, who would I like to collaborate with? There are so many amazing content creators, but one that isn't necessarily manga focused, but I do love his editing art style, and I've been subscribed even before I actually started reading manga. Would be an American essay channel called Nikki Jakey.
Hmm.
Just the way that he presents videos, because he does such interesting topics into video games. And so when I'm not knee deep into otaku culture, I am also playing video games. And he does fantastic essays on video games, whether it's women in video games, or dogs in video games, or the game design of Red Dead Redemption.
Hmm.
There's so many fascinating topics that he covers, and it would be amazing just to like pick his brain as to how he formats stuff. Um, and how we could even collaborate together, because the way he presents his videos is on a yoga ball, and he green screens himself into different scenes. And I think it'd be fascinating to have like a VTuber and then also an IRL person on yoga balls talking about the same topic. I think that'd be really, really cool to see.
I love it when people do green screen work with the IRL stuff. Uh, one that comes to mind, my favorite editor is a channel called Brutal Moose,
Mm.
and if you ever watch this guy, it's basically just a guy who lives alone in an apartment somewhere, and he's not even like that. He's not an impressive person. He's got like kind of long, crazy hair, and he just photoshops himself into ridiculous things. He's a funny guy. Uh, but yeah, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be an entertainer?
Ah, that's a great question. I feel like I I honestly don't feel like an entertainer myself, but even if I put a smile on one person's face, I feel like I feel like I've been entertaining. But if I had to give advice to someone who wants to entertain a lot more people,
Mm-hmm.
or just wants to be an entertainer as a full-time occupation, I feel like the best advice I could give is just be have fun with what you make,
Mm-hmm.
and don't get consumed by the numbers, because it is very easy to look at subscriber counts, view counts, comments, interactions, and just get lost in the numbers, and think, oh well, this channel is doing really well, and we started at the same time, but they're triple the subscriber count that I have. What am I doing wrong? And then you sort of analyze the stuff that you're making, and I feel like it's very easy to make your stuff no longer be fun if you're just analyzing it. Whereas, yeah, if you're like, oh, this is my hot take, and then this is why I enjoy X thing so much, and just put that online, be like, well, I feel like people have a lot more fun doing that rather than um, comparing one another.
Yeah, if you're like a statistics nerd, maybe I could see having fun doing the
Hmm.
analysis game, but other than that, no.
Yeah, especially if like I feel like if you start to compare yourself to your friends, it almost becomes more competitive, but not in a fun way. It's no longer playing a board game with someone. It's more you're in an intense race, kind of like that horse scout anime that I have recently watched, but I have forgotten the name of, and I feel really bad about. But it then turns into that, where it doesn't become like a friendly rivalry anymore. It just becomes kind of mean, and I
Yeah.
don't know.
What
It's
what
not a fun vibe.
it's like what can I get out of this person? And
Exactly.
that's not the way to be a human being first, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just yeah, just have fun with people and the content you make, and yeah, because then content making will never stop being fun.
So, what was your gateway manga and what drew you to it?
Hmm. My gateway manga. That is an interesting one. The first one that pops into my head, which is a really strange one to start with, was, and I have forgotten the name of it. Because when I first started getting into manga, it was actually my partner that had the big Dragon Ball collection.
Yep.
And I'd already started watching Dragon Ball at that point. So I thought, I don't want to read Dragon Ball because I've already watched it. I already know Goku goes Super Saiyan, so I don't need to read it, even though I have read it since then. Um, so I remembered it now. So the manga I decided to read next as a sort of gateway into manga was Terraformers,
Hmm.
which is such a strange one to read first. Um, and I read it, and then I collected it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I realized I didn't like it. So then I had like 20 volumes of Terraformers just sitting on the shelf. And then I decided after that to read maybe something more romantic, maybe broaden the horizons from something actiony.
Mm-hmm.
Um, After that, I read Beastars,
Yep.
which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy that a lot more than Terraformers, even though Terraformers had amazingly striking imagery.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so I read Beastars, and then that grew my love of Paru Itagaki, the mangaka, who is just chaos in a human form. She's fantastic. I love everything that she's made so far. um, and then I saw the degeneracy well, and looked down it. And I also got the recommendation from Trash Taste themselves. And then I proceeded to read Sweet Guy, or also known as He Does a Body Good, which is just a bizarre thing to read. it's it's 18 plus, and it's all about a man who, whenever he touches a woman, he well, a woman or a man actually. Now that I think about it, anyone he touches, they let's just say get the sweats for him,
Oh
there
dear.
and then. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter when. They just start getting the sweats. But that's the best PG way to describe the manga.
Oh dear. So, what do you think is the best anime adaptation of a manga?
That's interesting because the way I approach manga and anime is often when I read one or watch one, I don't tend to do the other one.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like because I read Beastars and I have such a vivid memory of that, and the anime came out not too long ago, I
Yeah.
feel like that has been a great adaptation
Mm-hmm.
for bringing it into 2025 because it has skipped out on a lot of filler that I didn't find super interesting in the original manga. Whereas I feel like it's cut out some bits, but still managed to maintain the overarching plot points while still also allowing me to feel the same way I did for each of the characters as I did when I first read the manga quite a few years back.
See, that's interesting because usually when I hear about anime adaptations, they add in filler rather than take it out.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is uh, a big example of that, where you don't get the baseball episodes in the manga, but they are still really good. So I think it does depend, and I feel like there are definitely some examples of anime that have done the manga dirty.
Hmm.
Like I feel like Arjun is a good example of that. I feel like it was one of the first 3D animes to be on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
and the manga was so suspenseful, had so much action in it, so much drama, and I just don't feel like it worked when they tried to turn it into 3D,
Mm-hmm.
or tried to make an animation of it because the action and the suspense just wasn't there in the anime, which was a real disappointment.
3D just doesn't work for anime. Something about it just causes me to just tune out whenever I see it.
Yeah, I feel like 3D only works in situations where you need the action. I feel like the only good examples I've seen of that is the Baki anime,
Mm.
where they're doing these really intense and action packed fights against one another, where they're jumping out of buildings, fighting giant grasshoppers, and I feel like that would be a lot harder to draw in 2D, which I totally understand. Using 3D as sort of like a not necessarily a shortcut, but more efficient way of animating the scenes.
Yeah.
But I think because Baki is so goofy, no one's really analyzing the second by second frames. They're just seeing if Baki can survive being pushed out a 27-story building and survive.
Yeah, I've found that the most effective use of 3D in anime is when they actually put in the work to try and make it blend in so it doesn't look
Mm.
3D.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was watching the Dragon Ball Broly movie,
Mm-hmm.
and the new Dragon Ball movie, which has a very I love Dragon Ball. I love
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Ball so much, but the latest movie has such a ridiculous name, where it's Dragon Ball Super Superhero. They do manage to blend 3D and 2D very swimmingly, and I feel like that's been a great example of if you didn't notice the 3D, then you would definitely believe it's 2D.
Answer a question for me because I've never read the Dragon Ball manga before, so I don't know how it translates over. But is it is it nearly as like as an example? Planet Namek is about to blow up in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
That takes like 8 episodes.
Oh, most definitely.
So that's the same in the manga then.
So with the manga, I think because you aren't reminded of it every episode, you can sort of get lost in the source a little bit.
Hmm.
And I feel like Dragon Ball Z is a definite example of oh this timer is 2 minutes. Let's make it a 20 episode countdown.
Yeah.
In Dragon Ball Kai, they thankfully cut up those episodes. So even though 5 minutes still takes 10 episodes, it doesn't take 20 episodes like it used to. They even managed to do that in the latest season as well of Dragon Ball Super, where they were having a tournament arc that lasted 30 minutes, but it was a whole season.
Yeah, I was actually informed that I should skip Kai. Uh,
I've been told to skip GT, but
oh no, skip. Yeah, no, sorry. GT was the one I was told to skip. My apologies.
most people do tend to say that. But if I'm being honest, I think I really did enjoy GT. I think just because it was so different to the usual Dragon Ball, and you don't see Goku nearly as much.
Hmm.
I did enjoy it a lot more, and I do enjoy. I think Super Saiyan 4 is probably one of my most favorite transformations, and I know not everyone agrees with that, but I'm going to hold it near and dear to my heart.
So, if you could go to an anime convention tomorrow, whom would you cosplay as?
Ooh, that's interesting. I think because no one knows what my IRL face looks like,
Mm-hmm.
I have the ability to show my face if I wanted to. But if I could cosplay anyone at any anime convention,
Mm-hmm.
that's such an interesting choice because there are so many cool anime characters to dress as, and so many awesome conventions to go to as well. Um, like Anime Expo in America, I've always wanted to go to,
Mm-hmm.
but in the UK, we don't have that great of anime conventions.
Yeah.
We have like two, and even then, they're not spectacular. But I think if I had to choose any character to cosplay as, who could I cosplay as? That's such an interesting question. I should have thought of an answer beforehand. um, but I think for comfort, because I always prioritize comfort when going to a convention, I would love to dress as Bulma. One,
Okay.
because green hair
Green
is
hair.
green hair, um, but the Bulma from History of Future Trunks, where she sort of has like the all in one suit going on, where she
Hmm.
looks super comfy, and it's basically just like a workshop dungaree suit. But it looks so incredibly comfortable. And it has pockets. And I feel like pockets are so underrated when it comes to costumes and cosplay. People need more pockets. And Bulma's outfit definitely has pockets.
Nice. So, your friends just stopped in to play video games. What are you playing?
What are we playing? Hmm. So there's a lot of fun games that I do like to play with friends. I feel like the one that causes the most chaos while still maintaining friendships afterwards, which I also have fond memories of during COVID, before I started YouTube and VTubing as well. And I know it's a very easy answer to say, but I would have to say Among Us,
Mm-hmm.
just because the panic that you seem or the panic that you feel when you pull out that knife and there's only one person in a room and you just see them running around to be like, I know you're my best friend, but I am going to stab you. And
Nice.
then just like when you are the culprit as well, just throwing out blame and then watching people either just like cut through your lies like Danganronpa or just go from 0 to 100 in retaliation. It's I feel like I could just grab popcorn and just watch the show. I feel like it's better than any reality TV show you could ever put on. It's so much drama and I love it.
I like Among Us. The only problem I ever ran into with Among Us is that there's a certain point where you might become like the character that people just kill off because they like killing them off, and that's not fun though, you know.
Mm.
But other than that, yeah, it's a lot of fun to try and figure out your way around it and figure out if the person is lying, because some people are definitely better at lying than others.
Yeah, and it's always fun as well to find ways to annoy friends in a fun way anonymously. Like I still recall playing with a group of friends once, and I would always vote for someone, even if they were innocent, and it would drive them insane. So they would always look guilty,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when we had anonymous votes on, because he would just be screaming, "Who voted for me? I'm clearly not the guilty." And it would just tumble and just generate this chaos, and it was so entertaining, and I loved it so much. Plus the servers work now, and back in COVID I feel like it was a lot harder to get into playing a game.
Okay, so this is the part of the interview where I ask the random questions. So, which do you prefer, Elvis or the Beatles?
Ooh, I would have to say Elvis, just because my family has a big fondness of Elvis.
Really?
Yeah. I know quite a few of the lyrics to the Elvis songs, but with the Beatles, I could name Yellow Submarine, and that's pretty much it.
See, that's funny because you're English, obviously. Uh,
Yeah.
the the Elvis is such an American centric thing. It's peculiar.
Yeah, I've it's so strange because the Beatles have like an iconic area as well that I've been to several times, and people even say, "Oh, they performed in that stage over there," or "They actually used to go to that cafe," and I'm like, "Cool. I don't know any one of them."
Nice. So you're on a boat with friends. What artist are you listening to?
Ooh, I think if I'm with friends on a boat, because we're far away and we could probably sing to our heart's content and not worry about how off pitch we sound,
Mm-hmm.
and also being on a boat, I feel like the perfect choice would have to be The Lonely Island. Because they literally have a song called "I'm on a
I'm
Boat,"
on a
and
boat. Yep.
all of my friends know all the lyrics to Lonely Island, and I feel like you can never have a bad time when you listen to The Lonely Island.
I just think it's funny because Saturday Night Live has been trash for a real long time, but
Oh yeah.
somehow, in the middle of all of it, they managed to produce an uber popular band that made hilarious music. And
I know, right?
and nobody really talks about it anymore, but it was really good and it was really popular.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is like I didn't even know about Saturday Night Live until I encountered the Lonely Island.
Yeah. Oh man, but that I their music was really funny. Uh,
Yeah, even some of their newer songs as well.
this
They
this
haven't been out for too long, but Sushi Glory Hole, me and my partner, we scream it until our voices hurt.
I actually didn't know they were still making music. I just know I'm on a boat and a few others.
Oh yeah, I always take the role of Justin Timberlake when it comes to saying the vocals.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know why, I just automatically go to his vocals because I think I remembered his the most, and my partner always goes to Andy Samberg.
I remember when they made an entire parody song around what's that guy John Bolton? Not
Oh,
is that
um,
not John
but
Bolton?
I know who you're talking about. His last name definitely is Bolton.
No,
Um,
John Bolton's an American politician. What am I thinking? Michael Bolton,
Michael Bolton, that's it.
and they have him, and he's a good sport about it. People,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't like his music, but he was a good sport about that song, so I give him a break. Uh,
I feel like that's also the same with every other guest that they've had. I feel like you could see how much fun they're having in the shoot and in the song as well. Like with Akon as well. I feel like I've never seen him grin so much from ear to ear in any of his music videos. Same with Lady Gaga as well. I don't think she's always been super serious in some of her music videos, whereas when she was in the Golden Rule, I feel like I could see her cracking smiles.
oh man. Okay, what's a movie you can pick up in the middle and watch to the end?
Oh, hands down, the live action Scooby Doo movies. I am so ready for that question. Anytime, anywhere. I love those movies so much.
I
But
mean,
not the newer ones. The newer ones can go into like a fire and stay there. But
yeah,
I'm talking the Matthew Lillard,
yep.
Sarah Michelle Gellar. Freddie Prinze Jr. Ah, perfection.
Matthew Lillard was born to play Shaggy.
He
He
was.
was he was so good at playing Shaggy. He had other movies around that, and everybody just knows him as Shaggy.
I know, right? Like my introduction to Matthew Lillard was Scooby Doo, and then it wasn't until a few years back, which is kind of a shameful thing to say, but a few years back, I watched Scream for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Where's his ruh Raggy?" Like where's his? It was so serious in that movie, but he was still such a fantastic actor. And also, he's been in the spotlight more often
Mm-hmm.
recently with the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which he also nailed.
Mm. I like him. He seems like a really funny guy. I imagine, in my imaginary world, he would be a very funny guy to meet in real life. Uh,
Oh, yeah, the fact that he's also a big Dungeons and Dragons fan as well and
mm-hmm.
makes alcohols based off of the Dungeons and Dragons classes, I feel
Really?
like, oh, he does, yeah. And I've always wanted to grab his cleric brew, but unfortunately, he hasn't really made a cleric one. He's made a wizard one and a rogue one, and I think he's making a tequila as well. And I've always wanted to grab one of his brews, but unfortunately, they are also in America, so the shipping costs would be through the roof.
Wow. So, would you ever talk to a stranger unprompted in a public setting?
Ooh, I'm gonna say no. I feel like the only instance where I would talk to a stranger publicly would to be if I accidentally bumped into them,
Mm-hmm.
or if they had dropped something. To be like, oh, you dropped that. Please don't talk to me or say thank you. Just making you aware you've dropped something. But I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and other than like going to a retail shop as well. Otherwise, it would be a bit of a strange interaction to try and order a coffee without actually saying, I want a coffee.
You have to like pretend like you're being held hostage, write it down on a piece of
Yeah.
paper. Please give me a coffee.
Yeah. Because the only sign language I know is my name, and I don't feel like that's going to go very far in ordering a coffee.
Sign language would probably make public interaction so much easier.
Yes. But the unfortunate thing is, I only know American Sign Language for saying my name, which doesn't go very far for British Sign Language. So even if I tried to order a coffee with my name in the UK, it wouldn't work.
Uh, so, which do you prefer, chess or poker?
Ooh, I think I'll have to go chess. Mainly because I grew up on Harry Potter, and that first scene has such an iconic chess scene. Uh, it's my time to make my move. No, Ron, you can't. That one. um, I then because I grew up with the movies as well.
Mm-hmm.
I then also grew up loving chess. I collected the whole chessboard that came out on a weekly basis on a weekly magazine. Um, and I knew quite a few moves. I wouldn't say I'm a grandmaster or anything, but my games don't finish instantly. I can play a little bit, but at poker I have no idea how to play. The only thing the only experience I have with poker is playing Bellatro.
that that is a popular one these days.
Yeah.
So, which do you prefer, a home cooked meal or restaurant?
Ooh, I would have to say home cooked meal. I'm not much of a cook myself. My partner is the cook, and he is spectacular at it. So I would have to say home cooked meal because nothing tastes better than a home cooked meal.
Do you have a favorite thing that your partner makes?
Uh, he does a spectacular uh, sausage pasta bake where
Mm.
it's all like cheesy and tomatoey, and it's usually really nice sausages as well. And then, like cheese is always super stringy, but it's British cheese, so there's a little bit of mild cheddar in there, and
Mm.
it is spectacular. And when it comes to pasta, I always overeat, so I am just concrete afterwards because I have so much food in my stomach that I can't even move.
A few years back, I discovered the joys of English cheddar. I
Oh,
I love English cheddar. It's probably one of my favorite cheeses ever. It
if you can have a sandwich with cheddar cheese, uh, ideally one that's quite quite aged,
Mm-hmm.
and then have some of Branston pickle, preferably the chunky one, between two slices of white bread.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, that is nothing screams UK home like that sandwich. It's so good.
Nice. What's your favorite thing that you ever cooked yourself?
Ooh, my favorite thing I've ever cooked myself. Um, I think one of my favorite things that I cooked myself quite recently was miniature lavender blackberry cheesecakes.
Wow.
I know it was very advanced. I'm surprised it turned out the way that it did. But they were little hand-sized cheesecakes. So it had the cheesecake base, so it was super buttery and super crumbly, and then it had a cheesecake mix on top. So it was mainly blackberry, made from fresh blackberries with a hint of lavender. They're also quite pastel in their color, with a little bit of blackberry uh, compote on top and some soft vanilla cream cheese, I believe, on top with
I,
a whole blackberry. Yep.
I'm getting shades of the Great British Bake Off from you
Oh,
right
I
now.
love that show so much. It may or may not have been my inspiration to make those.
uh, so on the other end, what's the worst thing you ever cooked yourself?
Oh, the worst thing I've ever cooked myself. I can't recall what the recipe was, but all I remember is that it had a red wine sauce to it. It must have been some sort of beef dish
Mm.
with rice or some sort of vegetables. But the beef dish that I made with the red wine sauce, I'm not a fan of red wine, so that's probably where my errors started.
Mm-hmm.
But the red wine sauce was just so incredibly sickly,
Mm.
and it just tasted really tart and just vinegary, and it was not good.
It
So yeah, I didn't
when
like that.
when you say that, it reminds me of something that I once had. Julia Childs was famous for beef bourguignon, and the way that she would, if you ever heard her voice, she
Oh,
famous beef bourguignon, that kind of thing.
the
Uh,
microwave.
and this stuff was doused in brandy. It was
Oh
the booziest thing I've ever eaten in my life. Uh,
yeah.
it was totally unpalatable. I was so I was so let down by it, unfortunately. uh,
Yeah, we if we have alcohol in our sauces, we tend to go over the top with our alcohol sauces.
so, uh, what would your ideal vacation look like?
Ooh, that is a great question. Well, I recently come back from Japan, which was just spectacular.
Hmm.
But I feel like the city definitely reminded me a little bit of London, but just a lot more colorful and a lot more filled with anime characters. But I would love to go to somewhere like Okinawa, which is still like got that Japanese culture and the wholesomeness and the welcomeness of Japan,
Hmm.
while still being on the seaside and having lots of things to do, like go to aquariums. I love aquariums.
Hmm.
Going to the beach and just doing lots of water sports, and preferably in the summer as well. I wouldn't want to go to the beach in the winter. um, yeah, I think Okinawa in the summer would be the perfect vacation.
Nice. Uh, sorry. You find 20 pounds in the street. What do you buy with it?
Ooh, as long as no one's claiming it.
Hmm.
I think, oh, £20. What could get me £20? My first instinct, which is very British of me, is to run to the first Greg's that I find, which is I'm not too sure if everyone knows about it, but Greg's is a pastry shop in the UK. It's quite a big chain, very famous for sausage rolls and yum yums.
Hmm.
Um, they do spectacular chicken bakes. Not quite, they don't quite look like the ones from Costco, but they're more square shaped.
Hmm.
And if I could live off of those and not have any physical repercussions or not feel guilty about my weight afterwards, I think I would just order like 20 of those and then actually maybe like 18 with some yum yums because you have to have dessert.
What are yum yums?
Oh, yum yums are sort of like a donut pastry, but they're in a line form that are slightly like swirled around, and they're covered in icing sugar. So they're sort of like a donut if it was a rectangle and slightly twisted.
Hmm. So,
I think that's how I would describe a yum yum. But they're so delicious and they're so addictive as well.
nice. What's a game show that you think you'd do well at?
A game show. That's a good question. Um, well, my general knowledge isn't very good because I feel like most of my knowledge exists within anime and manga. So if someone asked me about sports, I would have no idea. So I'm getting rid of anything like The Chase um, or QI, which are very iconic British TV shows. But
yes.
I feel like what would be a good one? I feel like Family Feud might do well. Uh, just because if I had like other members in my group, they could back me up for all the lack of knowledge that I have. um, and I feel like with 100 people, like with getting the answers from 100 people, at least one person might have the same answer that I do. So I'd like to say Family Feud.
Mm. Family Feud is a very fun one. It's one of those shows that after a while you watch it for an extended period of time and then you just start banging out all the answers as Steve Harvey's asking the questions.
Exactly. And specifically, I'd love to go on American Family Feud because I feel like Steve Harvey, we get recommended his clips in the UK just because he is so humorous
Mm.
in like his presentation. I feel like I could just laugh with him and be like, ah, even if I don't have the answers right, I could still have a fun time.
Oh yeah, Steve Harvey is uber charismatic. Who hosts Family Feud in the UK?
We've had quite a few feud presenters. um, I can't even remember their names. I think because it never does too well.
Mm-hmm.
We don't tend to have that many series of them. But I think the last presenter, he was also on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, but I don't remember his name, which is really bad of me because we don't have much good television. So I should really remember the presenters who are on TV. But unfortunately, I don't remember his name.
I mean, you say you don't have good television, but there was a part in my life where I watched nothing but English television. You mentioned QI. I used to watch that back when Stephen Fry was hosting it, and he was
Oh,
awesome.
he's great.
Yeah.
Mm.
I also liked uh, that Mitchell and Webb look with David Mitchell and Robert Webb.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was good.
yeah. Big fan of David Mitchell. Uh, anyway, if you could wake up with one talent tomorrow, what would it be?
Oh, that would be reading all three languages or all three character sets of Japanese because that is a superpower that I don't even know how people can do, but I am amazed with how they can do it. And I am still speaking like a 3-year-old when it comes to speaking and reading in Japanese. So I think if I could wake up and just know it, that I think that would be spectacular because then I could read any manga that I wanted to.
Honestly, I sometimes go into these questions and I ask myself them because that's a good check to make sure that the question works, and that is my answer to the question: Japanese.
It's
Because you don't spend 1,600 days on Duolingo learning Japanese for no reason.
exactly like I wish I had the same amount of numbers, but even when I was trying to say like "ah sumimasen" or "arigatou gozaimasu," those were like the only words that I could say properly. Even just trying to order like an iced latte in Japan, I felt so bad that I couldn't portray what I wanted to say properly. And just reading the signs, I was like, I think that says sushi, but I have no idea. um, so I think being able to just like read and write would be, it would be so much more like, I feel like my eyes would be so much more open because I'm following the very British stereotype. I don't know many other languages. So I feel like jumping straight into Japanese was probably the most challenging path I could take, but I'm still up for the challenge. So if I could just wake up and that challenge is over, that'd be great.
I wasn't aware that was a British stereotype. I usually think of it as an American stereotype because Americans only speak English.
I feel like because the running joke is that everyone in Europe hates the UK and the UK hates them equally. It's very easy to imagine that most English people don't know many other languages.
See, that's funny because I thought that was the stereotype about France.
Ah. Yeah, that is a definite running joke between France and the UK.
uh, okay. Incidentally, I do have friends in France, and I make that joke to them all the time.
No, thankfully I do love France. I'm not
Yes.
a France hater. I've even got a trip planned later to go to France soon, so I'm very excited for that.
So, if you could talk to a historical figure, who would it be?
Ooh, do they have to be dead or alive?
It can be anyone. Anyone in history. Genghis Khan.
Anyone?
I don't know why you wanna. I don't know why you want to talk to Genghis Khan.
I feel like we would be complete opposites. I don't think we'd have anything to talk about. Anyone in history? That's such an interesting question. Uh, I feel like even though it's very within the anime world, um, I would love to talk to Haru Itagaki, who is the author of Beastars and Sander and a bunch of other mangas that I really, really love, like Drip Drip as well. I would love to just get like a peek into in the inside of her brain just to see how it works, and I just want to know like how chaotic she is day to day. I feel like she would be similar to the cosplayer Jessica Negri, where it's just like you don't know what she's going to say next. But I feel like she probably has really strange pictures on her wall and like such interesting topics where you just ask her a casual question. And I would just love to see the chaos unfold, like out of her mouth as she says words.
Hmm. Uh, what's the last movie you saw in the theater?
In the theater, well, the last movie I watched at home was Top Gun for the first time, which is a very strange one to watch for the first time. I feel like I should have watched it a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But the last one that I watched in cinema, oh, actually, I do remember. It was Blue Giant.
Hmm.
It was the anime about a kid who wants to make a career about playing the saxophone.
Hmm. That's
I think it was
interesting.
only I think it was only in cinemas for a short period of time in the UK, but um, I hadn't read Blue Giant before, but my partner was a very big fan of the Blue Giant manga, so we had to go watch it. And I feel like you definitely needed to read it before you watched the movie, but it was still very good.
Hmm. So does it have to do with jazz or something like that?
Yeah, so it's all about a kid who wants to uh, play the saxophone professionally in the jazz world, and it's all about the movie is all about him playing in this really high end jazz club in his city or in Tokyo, sorry, and he moves away from the countryside to play jazz in Tokyo, um, and with the hopes of like playing in this jazz club. And it's all about how he can like how he builds a band to get into this jazz club and like the different relationship that he has with pursuing passion while also maintaining friendships.
Hmm.
And it was very fascinating to see because I've never seen too much of artist's journey into music, let alone a jazz player in the world of saxophone. No, in the world of jazz as a saxophone player. Sorry.
Hmm.
Um, so it was very fascinating to see, and I feel like I learned a lot about jazz in the process as well.
I think it's really interesting because Japan has quite the history with jazz. Like you go back to like the 1980s, there was like a whole subgenre of music of just Japanese jazz,
Mm.
and it's fantastic. Uh, the lot of it is just fantastic. I love it. I have all sorts of favorite artists from that time period.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What one's your favorite?
Um, Masayoshi Takanaka. He
Great choice.
Yes. That man, every single album cover of his, he looks like he's having the time of his life. It's just him sitting on a beach chair in the middle of a place so beautiful you will literally never see it in your lifetime.
He's just having a fun time on the beach, and he's like, "You will listen to my jazz."
Uh, do you collect anything?
Ooh, I do collect quite a bit of manga. I do collect anime figures.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had to actually leave some anime figures behind when I went to my Japan trip because we may have bought one too many.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also collect little blind boxes, but specifically Smeeskies. So they're little green. The only way I can describe them are little green fellas getting up to no good. They glow in the dark. They are a little bit creepy if you don't expect them in the nighttime. But they're just playing the hula hoops. They're putting on clothing. They're just little guys that just hide around on your shelves in your house, and they're so cute.
Uh, and my final question: what smell reminds you of home?
Oh, that is a great question. I think because I don't know what smell. Hmm. If it is to do with London, as in the city of London, the one smell that reminds me of that is, which doesn't sound very pleasant, but smog and
Mm-hmm.
like musk. That definitely reminds me of London, which makes me think of home.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with my actual home, I think mm, sort of lavender and soft linen is the best way I would describe
Mm.
the way the smell that reminds me of like my actual home.
Mm. That's really nice.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
with little wax melts that smell like it, and it's perfection.
so that's all I have for today. Thank you very much. This has been a really nice interview.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And if you're watching from the audience, I will be posting links in the description as well as the side chat because for some reason the description doesn't let me post full hyperlinks on YouTube because YouTube is just funny that way, didn't you know? Uh, but anyway, I've been Jack Jinseki, and joining me today was Bunko Bun.
Hmm.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.